Within Catholic schools in Australia, the term religious education, or RE, is used to describe the process of teaching and practicing all aspects of religion. The study of religion in schools within the Brisbane Archdiocese aims to support the children's understanding of both their own and others' beliefs and practices and how they impact their social, political, and personal lives. According to Brisbane Catholic Education, or BCE, throughout the course of religious education in Australia, students will engage with an inquiry-based approach while covering the 4 strands of RE: sacred texts, beliefs, church, and Christian life. While covering these topics, teachers are allocated a minimum of 2.5 hours a week for the teaching and learning of religion. Despite this being a minimum requirement, some suggest that this time allocation does not meet the teacher's needs in a practical classroom setting.
The religious education curriculum is based on the aims outlined in the letter from the Archbishop of Brisbane. These documents outline the Brisbane Archdiocese overall views and goals for religious education within Brisbane schools. Additionally, the vision and the model of religious education outlined by BCE references the contemporary context and goals for religious education in schools.
According to the vision of religious education, the schools and colleges of the Archdiocese of Brisbane aspire to educate and form students who are challenged to live the life of the gospel of Jesus Christ and who are literate in the Catholic and broader Christian tradition, so that they might participate critically and authentically in faith contexts and wider society.
So this vision aligns with Brisbane Catholic Education's learning and teaching framework, which states, "As a Catholic Christian community, we educate all to live the gospel of Jesus Christ as successful, creative and confident, active and informed learners empowered to shape and enrich our world." This goal is split up into 3 focus areas for religious education: we believe, we teach, and we learn, each of which challenges Brisbane students to be the voice of religion in their community.
According to BCE, it is a requirement for all primary school teachers to provide students with a minimum of 2.5 hours of explicit religious teaching. This time is to be used for teaching and learning about sacred texts, religious beliefs, the church, and Christian life, but excludes time spent participating in liturgy, prayer, hymn practice, and other religions. Despite this time allocation being a requirement encouraged by BCE, some suggest that 2.5 hours is not enough to cover the content outlines in the curriculum.
When looking at the approaches to religious Catholic education, there are some misconceptions that could arise in the classroom relating to the teacher's perspective on teaching students religion and guiding their faith journey. Firstly, there may be some confusion around Gabriel Moran's 2 dimensions of teaching and Brisbane Catholic Education's model of learning. Moran's model summarizes the way that we should look at teaching religion in 2 dimensions. Dimension 1 is subject-oriented and focuses on teaching people religion. Brisbane Catholic Education has adapted this dimension to focus on the classroom's teaching and learning. In this dimension, teachers look at how the subject is taught, the assessment, and the curriculum. Dimension 2, on the other hand, looks at teaching people to be religious in a particular way, which Brisbane Catholic Education looks at as the life and the ethos of the school community. This dimension is oriented around the broader life of the school and the students. According to the Second Vatican Council, religious maturity involves spiritual, liturgical, sacramental, and apostolic experiences. This is developed most within the local church communities, meaning that part of the dimension is influenced less by teachers and more by the students' faith at home and in their parish.
Another misconception is that teachers may think that the first dimension asks for only the Catholic religious ideas to be taught. However, Moran and BCE do not state that the school's particular religion has to be the only one taught within this first dimension. In fact, teachers should be teaching students about other religions. Teaching this within the 2.5 hours of time allocated motivates students to engage with the learning as they build their knowledge of their personal faith and the faith of others.
Furthermore, another misconception is that Catholic schools are not culturally immersive. This is simply not true. Teaching and learning religion is teaching and learning culture. Teachers should be using the 2.5 hours to not only learn about Christianity, but other faith adherents such as Judaism and Buddhism. Students should be learning about the history and cultural context of these religions. This misconception falls within the first dimension in the model of religious education, focusing on how and what is being taught. From this misconception, I believe that BCE should redesign their model to incorporate the teachings of the specific school and also the teachings of other religions, which focuses on the second dimension.
An additional misconception may be that religious education is not seen as an important subject as maths and English. This regards the first dimension of the religious education model. It is important for teachers, especially prospective teachers, to go into the classroom with the perspective that religious education is a core subject within the Catholic primary schools. For teachers, it means we need to have a strong understanding of subject knowledge while also balancing this with encouraging students to find their own personal faith. This means using the 2.5 hours allocated to immerse students in inquiry-based learning, which will build academic knowledge and as well as their faith journey. With this misconception, a balance between both dimensions is important.
In my practical experience within a Year 6 classroom, I observed that some religious education lessons would cause children to lose interest and motivation to learn. The students found the lessons to be more enjoyable and they were more willing to engage and express their own opinions when they were given the opportunity to discuss, share, create and move around. Thus, it is important to create a welcoming and supportive classroom environment, especially when engaging with religious education.
During my practical experience within a prep classroom in a Catholic school, prayer circle was done once a week for about 10 minutes. When completing religion lessons, they often had an art element attached, which took up most of the learning time. Although it is known that lessons should be interactive and engaging, it is a concern that possible learning time is taken up with whether students should colour their donkey grey or brown. It is important for teachers to remember that these 2.5 hours are valuable and should not be used as time to give you a break from teaching.
In the foundation curriculum, students begin to learn about different stories that are found in the Old Testament and the New Testament, and they begin to understand God's love for us and creation. Students also explore Jesus' life as a Jew, his birth, Mother Mary, friends, family, and his teaching throughout different Gospels. In foundation, students begin to connect scriptures to their personal lives through investigating key messages that are found throughout scriptures such as love, compassion, and forgiveness. Students learn about how the church has different ways of praying, and they understand that the church is a sacred place and that the Bible is a sacred text.
In Year 1, students learn about living in line with God's plan for creation. Students engage with texts from the Old Testament to learn about God's presence in individual lives and communities. They explore different symbols, actions, and words that are used in sacraments. Students listen, view, and read the different accounts and perspectives from the Gospels. They explore ways they can pray alone and with others. In Foundation and Year 1, the 2.5 hours of allocated time to teachings of religion seems to be focused more on Moran's first dimension, looking mainly at curriculum.
In Year 2, students explore Jesus' life mission and how to continue to live life of the church within today's society. Additionally, they look back at the history behind the parish community. Students develop an understanding of the unconditional love on offer, what sin is, and the freedom of choice. They advance their understanding of prayer in the Christian tradition through prayer for forgiveness. In this year level, students expand their knowledge of the wider life of the school, which explores Moran's second dimension.
Religious education is equally as important as any other subject being taught. From the religious education curriculum, it is evident that the students will need more than 2.5 hours per week to effectively learn about religion. From analysing this content, it is clear that the teachers would not have enough time to thoroughly explain each of these topics. This is not an effective way of teaching religious education, as students do not have enough time to develop a deep understanding of what is being taught. Religious education gives students the ability to interpret religious concerns and assess their relevance as a way of comprehending the world around them.
The suggested new model of religious education would add cultural learnings to the 2 dimensions from Moran's model. By embracing the religion specific to the students at the school, the misconceptions around religion not being a cultural subject will be eliminated. Students will feel culturally embraced and welcome to become mini teachers in their classroom.
This new graphic breaks down what teachers should be teaching in the time allocated for religious education in relation to the 2 dimensions. This includes the wider religious life of the school and the religious curriculum. The new graphic adds the concept of learning about other religions within the classroom environment. Each of these elements are represented in the graphic by a candle, with each flame showing the time that should be allocated to each component. Therefore, the 2.5 hours time allocation will be extended to 3.5 hours, which does not include liturgy, mass, hymns, and prayers. Overall, this new model for teaching religious education will allow more time for curriculum content to be taught effectively, as well as involving the students in learning about the alternative religions.